Welcome back to the Taylors of Tech podcast. We just wrapped up WWDC. We all saw it. People probably know what I think, so we're going straight to you guys.
Okay, I will take it from here. Yes, it is always all me. Hi. Bye. Drew's using center stage again. My goodness, we had tons of stuff. Not quite what anyone was expecting, but I'm going to say this for the record. Called it! I called it! No Macs till the fall. I called it last week. I called it yesterday.
Did call it.
I called it.
I'll give you credit, Nick. That was impressive. You knew it when no one else did. He was pre-Love to Dream predicting no hardware.
I was like 3 weeks ago. In fact, people are like, oh yeah, really? Well, you just saying that? No, I bought this MacBook Pro thinking there would not be any Macs until the fall. So I had my money where my mouth was a week and a half ago. Randy, what did you think?
Oh, man, some people are peed off. So,
are you one of them?
To be honest.
Oh, we gotta wait for his.
There you go. I'm building up suspense. I'm building up the suspense here. Okay, to be honest, I'm not upset because, and I'm on record saying, the MacBook Air is working just fine for me right now. Okay,
good. That's good.
If you gave me
important.
If you gave me a 2018 MacBook Pro, I think I would still not be agitated the same way. With that, what do I think about the no hardware thing? I'm indifferent. I don't really care. What I think about the software thing, my attention is completely on. I'm Craigily satisfied right now. If that makes sense.
Craigily. Interesting word.
My Craigule passions have been satisfied, so I feel pretty good. My favorite thing, bar none, was macOS.
Oh yes.
Really? How
Hands
come
down.
macOS?
Over everything, or just macOS as isolated?
Yeah. Why is macOS over everything for you?
Because they put time into making macOS be macOS. The dream, obviously, the dream is to have macOS run on iPad. We kind of flirted with that today. The features that macOS can do is showing the potential, the possibilities of what can happen. But in a vacuum, just talking Mac, everything about Monterey excites me, from the Safari cleanup, from just overall. Yeah, I expect the bugs to be patched and just smoother operating system, stuff like that. But what I'm really excited about is macOS being a proper OS. It's, as of right now, because of no hardware, we can't indicate or flirt with the idea of a touchscreen Mac, and that's fine. What they focused on was just refinement. They were very little did they bring from iOS besides shortcuts and stuff like that. macOS was a cleanup. Every time they've done a cleanup on macOS, it's done well. I think of Snow Leopard. I think of Yosemite. I think of Catalina, even though that was that's when they killed the 32-bit. That hit it up. But every time there was a refinement to what was laid down the year prior, I have always been satisfied with it. I love the UI of the wallpaper and things just getting polished up. It's a polished product of it. Very, very sad that we did not get what we had hoped with iPadOS. I think that's the obvious one, but I don't think I am going to need to upgrade my iPad now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Me neither. That's
here.
how I feel. That was I thought iOS trumped everything else, personally.
Really?
Do tell.
Thought there was just from Nick tweeting out all of his Nick has thankfully had the time to install at least one or two of the betas.
Yeah.
I have been vigorously trying to get my recap video up right after the event took place, so I haven't had a chance to mess around with it. But he was showing all this cool iOS stuff that seems really applicable and useful in the day-to-day. macOS feels like an S year to me, which makes sense because Big Sur was kind of a redesign. I think universal control is probably the coolest thing it has going for it, but outside of that, I don't see a lot of things I plan on using with Monterey. I mean, the Safari redesign looks neat. I agree, but the FaceTime updates,
that was long
Siri
overdue.
working offline now,
Dude.
Like,
FaceTime
Finally.
updates is my favorite thing. Just period. Just period. That FaceTime screen sharing and all that. Just everything that I called in. I was so happy. But honestly, FaceTime updates was and they hit the ground with that. I'm like, holy crap! Either I'm going to be bored for the rest of the keynote, or it's going to blow my mind with more things. They if implemented correctly, is meaning I don't want these weird hiccups and stuff, which I'm sure there will be, but FaceTime was the takeaway. And that's why I like macOS, because I know I'm going to use that for macOS for you guys. I'm going to use it for some streaming too. That's going to fix a problem with streaming. I would assume. There is so much about the FaceTime that I felt was neglected. I didn't even look at the Zoom stock. I don't know if it plummeted or not. I have no idea. But this is a proper killer.
As soon as they said FaceTime links to schedule meetings, I'm like, oh, Zoom stock is just...
Dude. What they brought FaceTime to Android and Windows.
Yeah. What on earth? When I saw that, like Google or whatever Android device, I was just like,
that was it.
I never thought that would happen. I thought they would never do such a thing. I'm very shocked they did.
Skype who?
Bravo,
Skype
Apple.
who? Zoom who? Like that is now like that FaceTime is my favorite takeaway of the whole thing. The idea of iCloud Plus.
I find that kind of sad.
Really? You were way too excited for this event then, Drew.
No, I was.
I'm just saying.
I was. Yeah.
Of all WWDCs, I wouldn't put this one too high. If FaceTime is the main takeaway.
Oh boy, no.
Wait, is that your takeaway?
If FaceTime is the biggest thing, that's what you just said, Randy.
Oh yeah, no, I know. But for me, that is relevant. I use it for work. My God, I'm so happy
they
gave it
too.
attention. You know what I mean? Like this.
But I mean, between the three of us, I don't know what that changes. You guys can switch to Android now.
Yay!
No,
iMessage still though. So
No. I am just happy that they didn't go feature heavy. This reminds me of iOS 12 in the sense that they just cleaned up. And iOS 12 was a boring release, but it was a needed release. And that is what iOS 15 or FaceTime. I'm emphasizing on FaceTime because it's the one thing I use. I use it almost exclusively. Hell, I think I use it with everybody. You guys, I definitely use it with my wife. I use it with my family. I use it for so many applications that I feel as appropriate. And I didn't think they were going to treat it like a Skype or Zoom. And I'm so glad that they did, because that shows that, okay, they care enough with software integration about working from home still that it's just easier mitigation with hey, we did this AI to block out background noise or whatever, and it's just like you could see that they are still baby stepping the approach to it of making it easier to work from home, and it's just very relevant in my life. In the grand scheme of things, no, it's not exciting, but I know it's needed, and it's really because it's masking the pain that we didn't get what we wanted from iPadOS.
And honestly, this kind of FaceTime update has been outdated for over a year at this point. Like, as soon as the pandemic hit and like everyone was locked down, and it was just so funny to watch that work from home Apple ad that they did like kind of last March or something, where like they were working on the pizza box all remotely, and everyone was just like on a group FaceTime call and stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, technically it does work, but that means everyone needs to be in the ecosystem. And to be completely honest, the FaceTime thing's kind of janky because you can't share screens, you can't like annotate stuff. It needed a lot of work.
The screen sharing, especially.
Yeah. The screen sharing, especially, and I know there was a technical way with screen sharing on the Macs to be able to screen share Macs, but that never really was. That was a 2005 feature that was kind of just legacy kept around. But seeing like the movie watching thing. So Scott, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, he and I will watch movies on occasion together, and it's always really hard to start this movie on our secondary devices at the same time so that we can be watching it in sync and be able to laugh at the same moments. Otherwise, we run into the issues that Randy, Michael, and I were running into today as we were reacting to the event over FaceTime call. Randy was about 30 seconds ahead of Mike and I for most of the time, and so we're there watching.
Apple TV Plus is Apple TV is obviously the preferred method to stream.
It has nothing to do with your amazing internet. But yeah, Randy's over there like, yes, they finally did it. And Mike and I are like, what's going on? It's just like so annoying. But hopefully...
That's cool you guys did that.
Yeah, hopefully...
We tried it out. We wanted to see how it would work.
It didn't. But hopefully now that this feature's here,
going
it'll work a lot
forward...
better.
Now it should work really well.
Now it worked great.
Going forward, now it's a thing if I ever want to, have you guys interrupt my me time.
Yeah. No, there was lots of interruption going on. But yeah, so FaceTime, 100%
well, there was
the biggest
plenty of
takeaway.
fluff to talk through. So.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't say fluff as much as smaller features that needed to happen. So
how about the health section?
The health thing is actually what I was about to talk about next. So my grandpa...
How to sit in a chair.
Okay, fine. Yeah, don't sit down and don't slouch, and you should get your steps corrected and stuff. But me being able to like not manage, but at least like be in the loop on my grandpa's health stuff is like pretty cool. I got him a Series 4 Apple Watch a couple years ago, and he's been using that to track his steps and do his ECG every once in a while and stuff. And just that ability to like kind of be able to share that with like a trusted family member is like really cool. Now I don't think it's going to change our world or rock our world, but like it's going to be nice when it's needed. Just be able to say, hey, I saw you got this alert that said your heart rate was high. Are you doing okay? Or whatever. Like you tripped and fell. Are you all right? I think that's really gonna be impactful, and him being able to share that information with his doctors. I'm honestly not sure how all that doctor connection works, but assuming we can figure that out, I think that'll be a pretty powerful feature for him. Now, me personally, I'm pretty healthy, so I'm not super concerned about all the health stuff for me personally. But another thing that was, I think you would, Drew, probably put in the fluff category, but I've been actually waiting for a long time. You'll notice I'm no longer using the wallet case on my iPhone because we finally have ID in the wallet. Now it's not coming until the fall.
I didn't consider that fluff at all. I thought that was a huge deal. I was cheering. I was like, that's a big deal. Although I don't know if it's legal where I am. I haven't had the time to look it up.
Okay.
So I'll check on it right now. But go ahead.
Speaking of where you are really quickly, I was so upset that they're like, oh, this new map feature, these very limited cities, one being San Diego, and I'm like, I screamed, I said curse words, I was upset because no, of course, bring it to me.
He scared Kika.
Yeah, she jumped. I was like, come, I want to use it because I'm like, this looks so amazing. This would be beautiful in CarPlay. I have the means to try it out in other ways with other friends' cars and stuff like that, and I can't even now try out the maps. Look so cool with a fresh update on that. Sorry, Nick, I just wanted to ramble about them, but go ahead. You were saying about the wallet.
No, so wallet, I've wanted this ever since the Apple Wallet came out in iOS 8.
Me too. It's a huge deal for me.
I took a picture of the front and back of my ID back at the time, and I'm pretty sure I can dig it up. And I was like, oh man, it'd be so cool if like this could be digital. And so like I took a picture and I was like looking into legality of just having a picture of your ID. And evidently at a traffic stop, it's not the best thing, but it's better than nothing. But anyway, it's obviously not 100% legal to just have a picture of your ID. And so anyway, I was like, this would be so cool if you could just add your ID in here. And I wanted that for so long, and here it is. I'm like, finally, I can have all of my cards digital and my wallet or my ID, and just have my wallet be my phone. And that sounds so simple and minimal. I'm worried like wondering how they're going to execute that. Between the TSA, they showed some stuff with the Transportation Security Administration, but like even just on the roadside, or being able to look at your ID in like in a first responder situation for like donor status or whatever. Like I kind of wonder how that's all going to work. But I know Apple's probably thought about this a lot longer than I have.
It appears from a quick Google search that there's a lot of states in the initial exploratory stages, but it's not currently legal yet where I am, or in many states from what I can see. Can you shoot that link
to me, Drew?
Where is it legal at?
Yeah. That's what I was about to search.
We will make it legal.
I'll make it legal. I want it to be legal.
Make it legal.
For those who are confused or don't understand the point, because like, what if your phone dies? Basically, it becomes your responsibility to make sure your phone is charged. Yep. So if you have your phone and it's charged and it has your ID, and they ask for it, you can present it, and that counts as a verifiable, because it's not just a picture. It'll be like an NFC thing that they will have some kind of reader that you can tap, and it will load all of your information on it. The wallet app will tell the cop or
they would even
exactly
have
what it is.
the barcode the same way people scan at the pharmacy or at, stuff like that. I'm sure it'll present something the same way if NFC is not accessible at that point.
So it sounds like it's in development, but it's
and they said it's not coming out till this fall.
Yet.
So there's definitely more lead time here, but I'm so excited to see this feature coming. What did you guys think of iCloud VPN? This week is brought to you by iCloud VPN. Click the link in the description below to get 15% off your first year.
As the security guy, he should probably weigh in on it.
They brought up a lot of stuff that you learn in Security Plus and stuff like that. I think it's smart what Apple is doing for the same reason Apple kind of shunned in the realm of privacy. They make things kind of obsolete, and if you're already paying for iCloud and they said at no additional cost and this is now included, then at that point it's like you're not paying anything out of your pocket that you wouldn't pay for anyway, because it's an added feature for something. It's simple. It's simple encryptions and stuff like that. Not simple in the way that you can get through it, but there's nothing unique about what they're offering that you wouldn't be able to get from a third party, except the fact that it comes with your iCloud storage anyway. So unless it goes
I don't understand why they call it Plus if it's just included regardless. It's like not a separate tier.
I think it's a buzzword.
Okay, and like, hello, Apple, you didn't change the 5 free gigabytes. After all, I thought that was like the bare minimum of things that they were going to announce.
I thought they were going to. I got so excited. He was like, today we're talking about iCloud Plus, and we're going to talk about storage. And I was like, oh, here we go. We're going to raise the storage.
Maybe like 10 gigs for free?
We're lowering it to 3 gigs. The iPad has more RAM than iCloud has free iCloud storage.
True. I think
let that sink in.
iCloud is going to be iCloud Plus for continuity with all their other pluses. Okay.
But it doesn't fit with the other pluses. It's not like them.
Well, I mean,
included
Apple TV Plus and whatever Plus.
That's a separate tier. iCloud Plus isn't separate. It's like...
I think iCloud as a service is more focused on your iCloud account than it is what you store on it. And so marketing, I feel it makes sense. I feel this Plus thing is to entice people to like get on iCloud if you have these services, or if you have an iPhone, if you have an iOS device, if you have just any Apple ecosystem device, get on iCloud Plus. Marketing to me, it does make sense. I think they focused on the wrong thing, and no one was asking for a VPN, and I don't think it
doesn't. Is it a VPN?
No, not in the sense that you're not in the sense that you get to spoof websites to download things from a different country.
Right.
It is like a VPN in the sense that nobody.
It's private.
It's private. Apple doesn't have the whole. We don't have your information. They really focused on IP addresses today, which I was actually really happy to hear about that, because a lot of people don't understand the utility of an IP address and how. Imagine imagine a world where you didn't understand the risk factors of you just giving away your driver's license number out loud online. Thinking, well, it's a driver's license. You can't have, but the implications that can go with that information because it is a state or a federal ID. So the implication of revealing that driver's license number is still tied to you. It's a number only you have. Likewise, IP addresses that follow your location and what device you are on can still get very much targeted and hacked. It could get spoofed, and it could trick your IP thinking it's talking to something that it's not, which is why end-to-end encryption is important. And it's cool that they do it for message clients and stuff like that, like iMessage. But to take it one step further and say, no, now we're introducing it for the whole web browsing experience for you through iCloud Plus, and you're able to do this with your email, that because anything that goes into iCloud is now going to get the same end-to-end encryption, is them taking a step in the right direction. It doesn't hurt nothing. I just feel like they focused on the wrong thing today. I think upgrading the prior subscription is more important than adding to the prior subscription. I think I don't discredit it, but it's very. I mean, it can't be that hard. I don't think Apple's losing that much money by saying, all right, now we're bumping it up to this, or now we're going to increase this new storage plan configuration where it's going to overwhelm their servers. They could have done the security factor of it to end-to-end encryption while also saying, speaking of iCloud, when's the last time we talked about this thing and show you your tiers? That would have been like, yep, perfect. I would pay more money for it for the same thing too, but they just focused on the wrong thing today.
So I got to take a minute here while we're talking about iCloud's updates, and I need to talk about the mail privacy feature. This, honestly, out of all of the features that I'm seeing from WW, I think this is going to be the most impactful, and yet no one is going to really realize what's happening. So I used to do a little bit of internet advertising, marketing, sending out like emails and whatnot to email lists with these different companies that you basically give them your email list and give them what you want to say, and they basically hide this secret little link that your mail application will load as soon as you download and view and like click on the email, and that unique link will report back to us, the advertiser, who you are, where you are, what time it is in your location, your IP address, and just whether you opened it or not. Like all of this personal information. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, wow. I had no idea. Because like I give my email out to like way too many random, websites or whatever. And I have a junk email that, gets that. But it goes straight to my mail app on my phone. And so when I saw all that, I was kind of freaked, like, oh my gosh, there are like hundreds of these emails I'm getting every day. All of them likely have these kinds of links attached that are kind of nefarious at the end of the day to, capture more data about you. And I think this is like a super transparent way to remove a lot of that just in the default mail app. I am super excited about that. It was one of the first features I turned on, and I think it's really going to be a great win for privacy. So good on you, Apple. Good job.
That's good. I didn't know about that. That's new info to me. I just wish they could require emails to have the little unsubscribe from news updates at the top for every email, because I still spend way too much time every day having to find the little tiny here link at the bottom of each email. And I still... a bunch of emails still don't have just the simple unsubscribe at the top thing. So especially when you're doing content features.
Unsubscribe from things, it's really up to the company to actually take you off their list. And so I kind of honestly wish that mail would go a little bit further, and they can do this later, maybe next year or whatever, but like going just a little bit further and saying, hey, we're going to blacklist this email address basically, and like help you manage your inbox. Because right now, let's see how many emails I have outstanding, but like it's in the 200s. 640. I cleaned 640 unread emails, and 100% of those are unimportant ones that I just haven't gone through yet. And I go through the important ones, but I really wish that there was just like a filter way to just say, just like we can now filter unknown callers on iPhone,
right.
Just says, silenced call. I really wish that there was that kind of a feature on iPad or on the Mail app to just be able to filter out all of this clutter and just focus on the important parts. But this privacy thing is far more important than that. So privacy is always more important. This is just a UI complaint, basically, of just helping me filter this down. I am thrilled that they have this privacy feature in Mail, because you never knew how much data you were giving out just by opening an email. So it's awesome.
Most people probably, majority,
I
probably
didn't
like
for like
95%.
years until I was receiving the data that was coming back, and I'm like, oh wow, I can see where they are and what computer they're using and what browser they're on. Like, this is weird.
It is disturbing.
Anyway, yeah.
So I'm glad that won't be a thing.
I want to
moving forward.
Tell you guys a favorite design thing that happened today. It's so minuscule, no one's going to talk about, but this is my favorite thing. You know how I'm good at noticing things with their promos? Like when we talked about the iPhone 12, I was like, hey, they're making a circle, and you're like, oh yeah, look at that.
Right. I didn't even know. Yeah.
Yeah. So today, what they did, iOS 15 looks like a sunrise or a sunset if you look at it with the color scheme, and iPadOS looks like lunar. So one looks solar, one looks lunar with the color fonts and the gradients.
That's so perfect.
Because
iOS is emitting new ideas and iPadOS is reflecting iOS ideas, just like the moon doesn't actually project light itself.
Boom! There you go.
Reflecting light.
And then macOS Monterey is my personal favorite, because lately I've been rocking these my color things like that. So it's matching the theme of what I've been working with, and my favorite wallpaper by far is that default iOS iPadOS 15.
Really? I much prefer the Monterey one. Like,
I wouldn't know. I'm
beautiful.
not rocking it, so I don't want to talk
beautiful.
about it.
Something someone pointed out is that for every macOS update, they do like the iOS minimal looking kind, but then they will also show a picture from California. And this Monterey doesn't have that.
I don't think so. I was just looking here, and I think there was only that
they
one
don't have a picture
so
of just actual Monterey. It seems to be only the little minimal iOS. So those guys that go out
underwater, those guys who travel to replicate.
I'm looking through it, and I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. There are some oceany ones, but they're from Big Sur.
Craig said, "Not today."
So those guys that go out to recreate all the desktops are going to be lost on this one. They're going to be like, "Oh,
no!" They're going to try to recreate that the synthetic waves with a physical item.
Save image as. Got it. Recreated.
That's the
with the thumbnail of. Yeah,
we recreated back.
I love how self-aware Craig was today.
Yes!
Dropping the
Favorite
iPad,
Craig moment,
throwing
go.
it. All of it.
I laughed pretty hard when he jumped through the hole in the ground and then just turned into complete serious privacy-focused Craig after being very
with his
playful.
hair different.
Yeah, you could tell.
Let's talk about privacy. We're so concerned about
you could tell this was filmed on a different day. His hair is different. The tone's different. Yeah. This was a whole different shoot. He drops down. He's like, we take privacy very seriously. No. Now let's talk about our crack marketing team for macOS Monterey.
The cringe felt a little higher this time. For me.
Definitely.
Especially
but
that
Tim
opening.
Cook said good morning.
He did.
He
Finally, he brought it back.
Thank
he was
you,
like,
Tim.
okay, now not saying it is making it a bigger deal. So I'm gonna start saying it again.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he said good morning. I didn't care for that intro as much. It would have been funnier if it was actual Tim and actual Craig doing the guitar riffs and stuff.
Yeah.
The like not Tim and not Craig thing just made me feel like I was watching a College Humor skit.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about it until you mentioned it again right now. I blocked it out of my memory. I did not care for that.
It was thrown out.
I didn't care for it.
Nick, does your 12-inch MacBook qualify for Monterey?
It does. It's a 2016 MacBook, so it does.
Okay.
I haven't put it on there
I couldn't remember
yet.
if you had the 2016 or the 2015.
I have the 2016. It's the exact one that I got in 2016. So
gotcha.
When I was downloading all the stuff, I was thinking about popping it on, but I wanted to, have at least one stable portable device. So if Monterey proves usable on the M1 MacBook Pro, which so far it seems to be very smooth, honestly, so I've been rocking the beta for, I don't know, an hour and a half or so at this point.
And here are my thoughts.
Quick reactions. Here are my thoughts. So I'm Nic and Randy. I've been rocking these betas for an hour and a half. Here are my thoughts.
What is up, guys? I'm Nic and Randy. I've been using iOS 15 for 13 minutes, and here are my thoughts.
15 for 15
I guess
minutes.
YouTubers don't get it early, do they?
No, that'd be kind of funny if they did. So
We're even there.
iOS 15 on the iPhone 12 mini is definitely usable. The device gets pretty warm, just doing normal things like navigating or anything. So I know it's going to pretty much destroy the battery life here.
Like navigating or anything.
Yeah, or anything. That's what I noticed it most on.
I think the process of just updating a whole phone to a new software will probably heat it up anyway.
I want to be caseless, you guys.
I could have put a cup of ice water on the back of my 12 mini as it was updating, so it was nice and cool before. But as soon as I started playing with it, it was just like instant heat, kind of like one of those hot pocket things, just instant heat.
Hot pocket.
Yeah, so I would say you could use this as your daily OS if you wanted to, but just keep in mind it's going to be on the buggier side. There have been a few times where the keyboard kind of wiggles out, and I had one forced app restart, but it forced app crash, and then I had to reopen it. It's not the end of the world, but from what I've been using macOS with so far, it is perfect. I would not know that this is a beta. The macOS Monterey feels very solid. Final Cut
You're making
works
me.
just fine.
Don't you dare put that on. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Okay.
I
So
don't
be
wanna hear it.
careful, because I've had times
features.
where it seemed great, and then I went to export a video,
Okay.
and then it didn't work anymore. So that's why I'm hesitant.
see.
And I will still never do a beta on a work computer, just because
I learned
very
my
fair.
lesson from last year. I'm not doing
It's
it.
very
I'm
dangerous.
keeping the Cube. For the record, the Cube is staying on Big Sur. It's going
Yeah.
to stay on Big Sur probably till December, so I'll always
I
have
figured-
a functional work device.
Good. I figured Nic, of all people, would have a backup Mac.
Yeah. What?
You would have at least 5.
No way. I
other
don't
Macs.
have too many Macs going on here. What do you mean? So probably my favorite feature from all of WW this year is actually the shareable keyboards and mice. That is literally going to
Universal
change
control?
Universal Control. That was the feature name.
I love that, yeah.
It blew my brain when he was showing it off, and it's going to help me out a ton. So let's count the keyboards on Nick's desk. 1,
1,
2,
2.
I don't know why.
and then 3 on the MacBook.
3.
And then
3.
1 trackpad on the MacBook, another trackpad, and a third trackpad. So I have 3 keyboards and 3 trackpads sitting on my desk, plus my iPhone, and so it's cluttered. Even though it's supposed to be minimal, it's cluttered. And I haven't found a better solution, because I'm using the iMac, the Mac Mini, and the MacBook all at the same time. I would love it if we get to the point where I can just have my MacBook Pro at my desk and use this as the mouse and keyboard for the Cube. And just remove all of this. Obviously, I'm sending the iMac back soon, so that won't be here anymore. But just like being able to run everything with the the input, it's going to be beautiful.
Does this replace CarPlay? Sidecar?
CarPlay? Sidecar?
Sidecar?
You blew my brain exploded for a second. I was imagining
I'm worried about the Cybertruck.
the Mac with the CarPlay with
Yeah.
universal control.
You're sitting in the back of the car,
Um,
riding. You can control it.
I feel
Does
like
it
this
replace
replaces.
Sidecar?
Yeah.
Not really. Like, kinda. There's a few use cases, I guess, where Sidecar is less useful now, but there's still a lot of things. Because Sidecar is expanding your Mac display, whereas Universal Control is just controlling your iPad.
Saving you
It's still
$350,
iPadOS.
not having to buy the Magic Keyboard. So instead of buying the $350 Magic Keyboard, you just have to buy a $1,000 MacBook Air.
I just wonder if that means
Beautiful.
if someone has an iPad Pro with a Magic Keyboard and then they buy a Mac Mini, do they not need a keyboard and mouse anymore?
Ooh.
Apple hears this and goes, never mind, we're taking off Universal Control. We're going to lose too much money on accessories. We just cannibalized our own. See? Cannibalizing products right
See,
there.
ladies and gentlemen, they don't mind cannibalizing.
They'll just have someone will have an iPad display right there all the time. Or no, this is only going to work on the Mac. It doesn't go from iPad to Mac, right?
I don't, they didn't say iPad to Mac. The only way they said, I believe, if I'm recalling this one time I watched the event correctly, it was Mac to other devices and other Macs.
Got it.
So
Well, that
we'll
would
see.
maybe encourage people to not buy the Magic Keyboard then.
Yeah.
If they know
won't
they
know.
can.
Well, do you want a hardware feature or do you want a software feature? I feel like that's the difference.
¿Por qué no dos?
That's also an option.
You could. I'm guessing most would say the free one, which is the software. As long as they have a more recent.
Do you know
Mac,
how long
they
it
can
takes
just-
people to realize to hold the space bar is a cursor to move things? And I see people so like, I was today years old. I'm like, oh man, I've been knowing about this since 3D Touch. I'm so sorry.
And every year when they talk about secret iOS features and iOS tricks, they show how you can go into jiggle mode and press multiple apps and move them all at the same time. Every year people say that exact same thing. Everyone's like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. It's like,
So this
has
is one
been
of
a
those things
thing
where
for like,
it's a software I feel like is going to be forgotten about moving between devices with a single keyboard. So I don't think it's going to hurt their sales all that much on accessories.
Probably
But software wise, my favorite, most practical that I would be using across everything is the Quick Note. I use
really?
Note
Okay,
for
Quick Note. Okay.
everything. I use it
use
for
a lot of
everything.
quick notes.
Yes, sir. I with the stylus especially, I would write a lot of things, but it helps me when I'm writing down. I genuinely write down everything on it because I will forget if I don't write it down. Anything that we talk about when it's like, hey, I'm thinking about making plans for blah, 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 I have written a note for it. You know how Nick was talking about how he has like a feature on like he tags things when he texts us and he's able to find it like that? I have something similar to that where I'll do that in notes. And I think you can, now that you can tag notes as well is going to help me a lot for just finding older things, because I find my issue with notes now, which is a me problem, is I have a lot of redundancy. I'll rewrite something out on a new notepad that I did not know I wrote it sooner, so when I went to go search it, I see it come up 5 times. I'm like, oh, okay, I did do that. This will help with that, and it's because of situations where a quick note will be applicable. Ooh, let me write this down real quick and jot it down or type it out or however I'm going to do it. Quick note is gonna help me just organize my thoughts a lot cleaner. So
good.
I'm excited for that. It's not sexy. It's pretty boring, but it's very practical for me writing down, because I will, if it's not in my notes, I will forget. That is a promise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't see myself using that one as much. I feel like whenever I open notes, I just type down something. I'm never like adding a bunch of stuff, or I don't really use the pencil for notes. Really, I typically just type them. But I'm glad you use it.
When I use a pencil, like I'm sitting down to use the pencil. It's like I'm gonna get out my drawing app. I'm gonna get out my 3D sketch app. Like I'm gonna sit down and use the pencil. I don't feel like I take the pencil off of the side just to jot something down real quick. I feel like that's kind of this big process to get the pencil out and then start writing. So I don't know.
I can just type faster.
My notes when I use the stylus is because I'm drawing a concept
stylus?
of I do. I draw a concept of something. So good example is I do a very rough stick figure version of how I wanted to lay out my office when I was reorganizing before. I find myself writing lyrics easier when I write them down. Because there's a flow when me personally, when I'm listening to music and if I'm writing lyrics, I write to the flow of the music, and it's better than there's something there's just something original. And I can't tell you how many times I've practiced new signatures for things too. Like I want to change this as my signature. I just you guys have complimented me on my
signature.
Thank you. That's 100% because of the Notes app. And I'm not even lying. That's the moment I got the stylus, I got better at my signature.
You're good at it. I can tell. You've done 1,000,000% more practice than I have. That's for sure.
I sign a lot of documents, and I like drafting concepts on my notepad first. Actually, another example is hypothetically, say I was building a website. I actually draw my website first by how I want certain navigations to lay out, and then I turn over to looking for a web client to work on that stuff. But every designed thing I would have done with a logo, with a that time I did the Silent Hustler shirt, that all started in the Notes app with the stylus and stuff like that, and it's because I had a quick idea. So
Smart.
Notes is my most used app. Over YouTube, over iMessage, over
Really?
anything else. Safari Notes is my most used app on iOS and iPadOS.
Do you get upset when they kind of change and tweak things on Notes and kind of make it different? Do you kind of like already have your flow, or are you like willing to accept all these new changes? So for me personally, the most that I use the Notes app for really is the show notes for all of these episodes. And there's tags that I enter in that you guys don't see, but they're all starting with a hashtag. And when they introduced that feature where you can tag anything with a hashtag, I'm like, oh boy. All of my notes are going to be tagged with like 50 different tags that don't mean anything to notes. And so anyway, I don't know, I'm a little apprehensive about that. I'm poking around here on not Mojave. What is this one? Jeez. Monterey.
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 It's like the third time you've
Big
done that.
Monterey.
That's
Think
next
Monterey
year.
Jack.
Next year is Big Monterey.
Year after that's
Monterey
huge
Jack
Monterey.
cheese. No, to answer your question, I there's always a learning curve with everything. To adapt my workflow, the problem is I haven't established one that worked. Then introducing the hashtag will help me the same way it helped with my file management on Mavericks when they introduced tagging for Mavericks. I used that for school, and I use that I like having things filtered and organized in that sense. I use it for all my folder applications. I use it in my Google Drive. I've used it in anything that houses a lot of information or data or whatever the case is. I do that, and the Notes app is my most cluttered and disorganized app.
I kind of use my own hashtags in a way. Sometimes I'll just put text at the bottom of a note and then search that text later.
That's good.
So this kind of streamlines that, I guess, a bit better.
Instead
of my jerry-rig method.
The pinning helped for me to remember certain tags. Like I had a legend that would help me remind me of
You're
certain.
such a legend.
No, a legend. I used certain words because I'd forget what I tagged something if I was to search it. So I would use repetitive words like something idea or something concept or whatever. And so I know to search certain words I wouldn't use often, whatever that something would be. And then that would then filter it to that word, concept, idea, blah, blah. So it tells me my tracking, and then I start going into it. I write notes all the time. I was doing it during the keynote. So it's so cluttered. I'm surprised it doesn't take up more memory on my phone or an iCloud, but yeah, I'm really excited. I didn't actually think we were going to be talking about it for as long as we did because it's such a boring small update, but it's so impactful for me. I'm happy.
iOS is what got most of the love, I'd say. I think that's where attention is due because that's where Apple put it.
They hit the ground running with it. No Apple or no tvOS, no. I was like, thank God. Like let's just talk about what matters, and they hit the ground with iOS. I'm like, this is going to be a big keynote, and it was big in length too. It was over an hour.
So speaking of
which is rare these days.
Speaking of the like overall length here, Drew, were you? Obviously, I haven't seen your reaction video because you haven't posted it yet.
It's taking forever to upload, and I don't know why. I just did a speed test, and Starlink's doing great.
Interesting.
No, this is on cellular. I'm on LTE right now.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I am trying to upload my 2 gig video, and it's like YouTube is going really slow, so I'm worried that something's wrong on YouTube's end because I did a speed test, and my upload is really good right now. So I'm like, what's going on? I don't get it.
Well, anyway, we haven't seen your video yet, but at what point did you kind of realize that Macs weren't coming, and how disappointed are you about that? Because I know that's when we talked when we talked the other day, you were like, "What you're really looking for is the M1X chip," and we got nothing but that.
That would have definitely been the most exciting thing if it did happen. I'm pretty bummed out, mainly because while I haven't posted about it yet, I have gotten to mess around with the red Komodo. We've gotten to film with it.
Yeah.
And after toying around with it and talking with Ross, I was like, okay, I'm ready for a new Mac. Because the iMac Pro was struggling to just play the 6K video within the red, which is an R3D codec. Yeah, I think it's like 16-bit or something really high. But I had to knock it down to half resolution just to get in real-time playback.
Wow.
and I was like, man, this would be really interesting to see how Apple Silicon could handle this. And I know that the iMac Pro is probably going to take it easier than Apple Silicon is. So I'm very interested in seeing where Apple can take Apple Silicon in the future so that we can export and use this kind of high-end footage somewhat regularly, because the fact that even if we film a whole video with the Red, edit it all together and export it, I still can't really watch it. It's kind of annoying.
You need the Pro Display
just
XDR,
playing,
Drew.
I know, that's what my friend Ross was saying. He was like, we could actually see this. But I was playing around, we watched some HDR stuff on the iPad Pro and stuff, and I was like, man, if it was like macOS on the iPad, and then we could load the Red footage on there, have the XDR display.
How do you
M1
feel
chip?
knowing that you're going back to your 2018 iPad?
Sad. Very sad.
Are you going to keep it?
I was somewhat convinced because of how I was like, okay, even if we don't get an M1X Mac Mini, I'll probably just have to get a MacBook Pro, because I want to be able to edit this like high-res video, and I want to be able to do more stuff with it. And between me and Ross, I have the faster computer, and this, I have to knock it down to 3K to be able to watch it. And the Red was so cool to mess around with, because you have like infinite ISO. You throw it into Final Cut, and we were like pointing it at different things, at different exposures, and we were like, oh, let's just set the ISO to 50. Okay, now let's set it to 800, and it just changes. It captures all
post?
that data. Yeah, in
Nice.
post. It has every ISO option, so it's not
That's
like,
cool.
oh shoot, that shot was overexposed. No worries, let me fix that. So I was like, it had this whole cinema look to it that, just like how the Blackmagic was like a leap over my Lumix cameras. This feels like another leap over the Blackmagic cameras, because we were filming the unboxing with the Blackmagic, and then filming test footage with the Red, and I was like, looks like a movie. I don't know how to describe it, but maybe it's the full frame sensor or something, but something about it looks so, that red look looks so different. So I was like, okay, I'm really glad we're having an event on Monday, because I want to get an M1X like as soon as possible. Like, I don't care if it's in a 14-inch laptop or a 16-inch laptop or in a Mac Mini or an iPad, who cares? Just give me an M1X in some sort. And now I'm like, oh dang. Next event is probably September, and that'll be about iPhones and watches. That's not even a guaranteed Mac event. So it's very possible we won't get M1X. You called it, Nick.
Sorry.
You're right.
Had to get that in there again.
But that means we got to wait till potentially October, November for something better than the M1, which is like, oh, I don't know. I was saddened by that, and if you would have asked me not too long ago, I would have assumed there would be no hardware, but all the analysts and everybody got to my head.
Speaking of, what is up with all these analysts and people who get leaked stuff? Like, they're all garbage. None of them get anything anymore.
Boy, the radio silence on Twitter today was strong.
I almost
Everyone's like,
believe,
Ghost town.
Apple just watches the leaks, and whatever a handful of these leakers are saying, Apple's just like, yeah, okay, we can wait till the fall to launch that. I mean, just cut that out of the event there. Because, like, it just feels like they're toying with them.
It makes so much sense that it is. That
No,
would explain so much if Apple just like watched what everyone was saying and was like, okay, don't do that.
Do you think a lion in the forest cares what the little June bug on the ground is doing?
But they'll block the June bug. At least will.
That was the prior lion. The new lion just doesn't care.
The one with the silvery gray, the pepper gray mane.
Do you think they care what us plebes are speculating by any means? No, they do not care. It's more likely that they found a way to just drop false information and just let it go out. And
I love that.
That's their way of identifying who's leaking.
It kind of adds to the fun and surprise, though, when we go into an Apple event and, people are expecting one thing or another, and then none of it happens. It's kind of like, oh, well, like, at least it didn't go off exactly as I had planned. Because I remember for like 2 or 3 years, it was pretty much just like you make a little checklist of everything that Apple's going to announce, and it was like check, 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 check. And at least now, we're all like, okay, where's the MacBook Pros? Okay, we're an hour and a half into this. Are we going to get MacBook Pros? Okay, we're back to Tim. He's starting to sign off here. We're going to get one more thing,
We
MacBook
had an
Pros?
amazing day today. Please say, but there's one more thing. And we're so excited for the rest of the week. Thank you.
They
for
kept all the software stuff really under wraps.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, totally.
And I love
I think
it when that
WW is one of the
happens,
only
although
events throughout the year that we get to kind of be genuinely surprised
because
about.
iPadOS is what I wanted
between
more than anything.
Monterey and iPadOS 15, there's
I was
lots of
pretty
speculation.
disappointed
Lots of people
because
thought
I felt like
Apple
there
was
was
going to be doing different things, like putting
just
macOS
so
on the
much
iPad.
potential.
Yes,
Am I
definitely.
back?
So much potential.
You're
Sorry.
hi, yeah, you're
we were
back.
probably talking over each other.
I ran out of data, so I switched everything back to Wi-Fi. Anyway, iPadOS, we talked about all the great things, and I don't want to distract from that. The privacy improvements are wonderful. The health things are wonderful. I love that Apple finally has a method for people who forget their Apple ID password.
Yes.
Or if you die, there's a process for what happens to your data. That's something that we don't think about, and iOS 15 to me was the star of the show, and I'm very happy with the changes brought to iOS and macOS Monterey. I love the universal control thing. But if we can get into some of the negatives, if we're talking about disappointments, iPadOS I think was the biggest miss. Because even though M1X didn't happen today, we know that something like that is probably happening within the next 4 or 5 months. It's going to happen in the fall. We're going to get MacBook Pro. We know the transition's going to happen. Tim Cook, very reliable leaker, confirmed the Apple Silicon transition will be done about a year from now, right? A year from today.
Yeah.
There will be no Intel Macs left. If everything goes according to plan, I think they will.
They're no Tesla. They're going to meet their deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're a Fortune 500. They've been a Fortune 500 company for a long time.
They're not
Even
run
Apple
by
has their
Elon
air
Musk.
power. But yeah,
I gotta be honest with
iPadOS
you.
though is not going to get a big, it's not going to check all of our boxes. Like, we basically have to wait another year for all of these iPadOS wishes that so many of us were waiting for. Like M1X, that's still coming. I'm sure we'll see it probably October, November. iPadOS, what's lacking there? We're not going to see that
Which
for
is
possibly
why
a decade.
I was so excited about macOS today. Today,
Yeah.
after going through iPadOS and then they moved to macOS, I was like, okay, I'm done holding on to that dream. It's like it's killed. It's done. I no longer hold on to it. Yeah,
We have to give up.
today.
I think so.
Today I sobered up, and I was like, okay,
Aw,
it's
this is sad.
yeah. I'm no longer the honeymoon. I'm no longer hoping my girlfriend's going to change. This is who she is, and I have to accept it. So I moved on to a new girlfriend, which is macOS Monterey. She is a good-looking Monterey indeed.
So I had a very similar feeling, Randy, and the moment for me with that was when Craig was up there and he was like, so the Swift Playgrounds app is really powerful. You can make an entire Swift UI app right on your iPad and then export it to macOS with Xcode. And you're like, Swift UI, first of all, is like nothing but the lightest apps use Swift UI exclusively. Most apps do include Swift UI, and I'm no developer, but talking with Ethan and other people, Swift UI is kind of like the UI layer that sits on top of other kinds of infrastructure. And so the number of apps and kinds of apps that you can make exclusively with Swift UI inside of what used to be just a game, Swift Playgrounds, it's just like, that was the moment where I was like, okay, so we're not going to see anything pro apps wise. That's what I said.
Not only that, I don't think we're going to see a Mac OS anything come to today.
To be fair, I didn't expect that either, but
I was holding my breath that just maybe I was being wishful one more time. I was still
I
living
wasn't
in
hoping
2018.
for macOS. I was just hoping they would do something very drastically different with iPadOS now that it has M1.
We speculated a macOS knowing like, okay, that's not going to happen, but we want something that groundbreaking, dare I say, revolutionary. And it just today I got out of the detox tank. I left the jail cell and I'm like, all right, let me tell you, I am very much awake, and I understand where iPadOS exists in my head and where I think it's supposed to exist in the world. iPads are just good. They are meant to replace your everyday computer for everyday tasking, not to do anything extensive in that sense. And I accept that, which is why I've been so jazzed about macOS, because like, all right, my music, my creations, my productivity, my everything that gives me joy lives within the Mac, and I'm glad I got it, the latest and greatest that we can buy today with the M1 chip. And I'm sad, but I was a fool to just like thinking we're gonna get MacBooks today. I was a fool to think that Apple would just dare to toe the line again with their iPad. Where they did well with iOS, iPad as a whole is this weird, redheaded stepchild that we just.
Ouch. Ouch.
Sorry, Drew.
I'm a stepchild.
Did you get stepped on as a kid? I'm sorry, Drew.
So
That's
anyway,
what that means,
that's basically I'm not holding on to it anymore. Going forward, to be honest, I will continue using the 2018 iPad until I guess it would die on me. The next iPad, if there is a next iPad, will be the smaller one. I'm going to
especially now that keyboard thing. Like,
yeah, I'm not future proofing the iPad for a hopeful tomorrow. I'm gonna buy it for what its purpose is to exist today for me, and I'm gonna go budget friendly. I'm gonna get the smaller iPad Pro if and when that time comes. I'm gonna run this thing to the ground, which I think I can easily get 2 more years easy out of it. So
probably. iPad Air 2 is getting 8 years of software support.
that's
Did
crazy.
you guys catch that?
No. I
Oh,
didn't.
wait, I was looking at the compatibility list, but I did not. Hang on. Actually,
For
I'm gonna
hold on,
iPads
hold
and iPhones, nothing got left out.
That's
But
so cool.
have you seen the macOS compatibility list, Drew? Your
Yes,
Mac
that's
is
why
the
I
very
specified.
oldest Mac that is compatible with Monterey. iMac
No, it
Pro.
isn't.
It's only the 2017 iMac Pro. Like they cut
There's
off.
only one iMac Pro.
Okay, but like, it's weird to
was only
see.
one.
It's weird to see the 2017 iMac Pro listed as the oldest device in a category that is supportive of the new operating
So
system.
the
It kind of feels
iPad-
like Apple's cleansing for the M1
The
transition.
iMac that I had before would not have gotten this update.
When did you get it?
2015.
2015.
Well,
Late
late
20
2015 is compatible.
Oh, okay.
So yes, you would have
okay.
gotten it.
Okay.
Also, the trash can Mac Pro still gets Monterey.
2013.
2013, yeah, that's pretty far back. But they did drop a few of the Macs. I was kind of surprised to see, but
Like the MacBook Air, Mac Mini, like those are all 2014, I think. 2015 MacBook Air and
yeah, now they're
2014
all
Mac Mini.
pretty much
like-
2015 or later.
Yeah,
Most of it.
kind of
So-
crazy. I do have to give a big shout out to iPadOS though, because when you first sign into it, it gives you this really nice hello animation.
Ooh,
That's
and
pretty.
it's
That's
kind
clean.
of cool. But the problem is, after you enter your password, at least on my install, we get an instant kernel panic and then restart. So don't install this on your iPad for
Dev
the moment.
betas, folks.
Yay! So I'm currently fixing this, but yay.
Nick just bricked his
flashing.
iPad, by the way.
He did.
Yeah, pretty much. It's looking like it.
I
Thankfully, I
laughed
didn't have anything valuable.
uncontrollably during the watchOS 8 segment when they showed the think of something that makes you happy, and then just an animation of random visuals.
Yeah.
I was dying of laughter. That you open an app that says, think of something that brings you joy. Now wait.
Me.
Hold on to that moment.
macOS on iPad.
That's all you're thinking about. macOS on iPad. What's funny is I get the
Sorry, I
last
can't help you that
laugh.
on Apple Watch. Sorry, go ahead.
I know Apple wasn't going to do this. Like, in my head, I knew they weren't going to. My reasonable side of my brain was like, yeah, no way that's going to happen. But all the people that were arguing with me on either Discord or Twitter or whatever were all saying, you don't need macOS on the iPad. iPadOS will get better. iPadOS will improve. It will become more capable. And after today, I was like, this is what I was talking about when I said iPadOS isn't going to gain a bunch of Mac features in a year. In fact, they barely got any Mac features. I don't think they gained anything other than Safari extensions.
Mac instead.
I
Yeah,
think that
that's
was
it.
it.
Safari extension. The only thing Mac got iOS iPad features with shortcuts. It was reversed.
Right.
iPad didn't get anything.
iPad is still only capable of running 2 apps simultaneously, despite having 16 gigs of RAM. I checked. I immediately went to the all new features page. I was looking for updated video codec support. I was like, come on, ProRes. At least just give me ProRes, and I could justify you using the iPad and everything. But I couldn't even do that. There was obviously no external webcam support. Why would we do that? That's stupid.
No. The center stage is so perfect.
You're right there, Drew.
Center stage is flawless. Why would we have more microphone settings, and why would we change the amount of RAM third-party apps can use, which is still 5 gigs, by the way? And the fact that we were joking all iPadOS would get was home screen widgets. We were practically spot on. That was essentially what happened. I remember me and Nick going back and forth. We were like, this is all the stuff we want, but it'll probably just be widgets can go anywhere on the home screen. And then the iPadOS segment was like 5 minutes. They were like, so widgets go anywhere now. And it works exactly like
kind of make an app, maybe.
If I
in
had
an extra large widget.
Yes.
If
Important.
I had, children or younger siblings or something, somebody who doesn't need to do anything crazy. Here's an iPad. Go break it. Whatever. It's not. It's so.
Go break it.
Wow, I want to be your kid, Randy.
You can't do anything with this software.
Well, I won't say that, but
no. What what I'm getting at is that I'm saying genuinely us, what we need it for. I need more than 2 windows simultaneously. I need for it to be like a post PC replacement. It needs to be more than consumer based. It needs to have prosumer stuff, and iPad Pro always made me believe prosumer, but I just think it means
oh boy, were they wrong?
Better camera, lidar, design. I mean, even the design, iPad Air got the new design too. So even now, it's like what are we doing here? I like my iPad. I'm not dissing it. I'm just understanding what the bigger vision of what they want to do with. Maybe we yelled at them too hard a couple years ago about Mac, that they panicked. Maybe we just got too hard on the. They panicked and they're like, all right, give Mac everything, and it's an important part of our lineup. And then that was it. We just yelled at them too hard or something.
I think my main issue has been, the reason so much has changed over the years and why I wasn't advocating for macOS on the iPad just not too long ago was because there was still so much fundamental differences in the hardware. There was Apple Silicon in an ARM architecture here, and then there was an Intel x86 architecture here. There was no mouse support on iPads. That was a Mac thing. And anytime someone said they should bring mouse support, I'd be like, no, it's a touchscreen, it's a tablet, that's what it's for. But now Apple caves. They say, okay, we'll give it trackpad, we'll give it mouse support, we'll let you control any iPad with any mouse, Bluetooth or wired or smart connector. And now they're transitioning Macs over to Apple Silicon. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a bit closer. Now they give iPad the same exact silicon, identical, M1 here, M1 here. Keyboard here, trackpad here. It's got it all. It's got everything it needs. So I'm like, okay, now you're so dang close. You're giving it the Thunderbolt port. You're giving it everything the Mac has. And I'm like, okay, if I want to take advantage of 16 gigs of RAM or 2 terabyte SSDs, and you're going to sell a device with a keyboard and a trackpad and an M1 chip that goes up to $3,000, that's when I'm like, okay, the iPad hardware department has put everything the Mac OS needs on a silver platter and sprinkled it with LiDAR and Face ID and a mini LED and 120 hertz. And they were just like, okay, Mac OS, here you are. I've decorated myself perfectly for your consumption. This is just right. It has everything you could possibly ever ask for. And Mac OS was like, not a Mac. Not interested. Don't care. You're an iPad. I would never eat such an atrocious
I
iPad
don't
garbage.
touch paw.
I don't touch iPad. You're filthy. Gross.
Ew.
And now that we have seen the iPad hardware team try so hard to present everything macOS could have wanted, I'm like, okay, if they're not doing it now, it's probably never.
Yep.
And that also is not just talking about macOS dual booting. I'm talking about giving iPadOS Pro applications or Pro software. Now would have been the time to do it. I can't think of another time it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
I have a hard time visualizing what exactly would need to happen for Apple to be like, okay, now it's worth it. Now let's do Final Cut. Now let's do Logic. Or now let's give floating window support. Like, now of all times would have been perfect.
You have the battery capability. You have the RAM management. You have the same architect. You have everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that was still to be like, iPad is an iPad. And it's like, that's what Marquez has been saying. It's still an iPad.
He's going to say it another year.
Yeah. We were cautiously optimistic, leaning into the fact that it's like hardware now makes sense. We can do this. And like you gave us like almost those features in the way that's like, oh, well, now we can screen share with FaceTime. So you gave us the applications of things that are, it's like now we can work off of it like a real work computer, especially for this. I know us as a very specific example, were brought up on the whole intersection of the liberal arts and science, and that was that intersection of that. Like, this is a thing for creatives, and Apple campaigned on that for so long, and they put their money where their mouth is. They put out amazing software. They didn't jip you with it in the fact that it's not. Thank God it's not subscription based. At least I thought that we were still going to get screwed with that, and thank God it's still a one-time payment for now. So I'm happy to see that. But they gave us the tools to be creative, and I will forever be grateful for that, and why I am a loyal Apple sheep that way, because it gives me my outlet. Mm-hmm. With that, I'm also a futurist in the innovative side of at least speculating that it's like, okay, art, we're completely fine in the art. You make amazing concepts for all these things, even down to the watch. And with portrait mode, now you can put the thing. Like, I can appreciate
cool. I love that.
I can appreciate the aesthetics of it. I am a genuine big fan of these aesthetics. On the science side, the math makes sense. This iPad now has everything, and there's if it's not like you said, it's spot on. If it's not happening now, there's no reason why they're gonna wait now. There's no underlying infrastructure on the software side that needs to be established. What was missing was the hardware, and the best you get is continuity, or not even sidecar, or now you have this moving the apps from Procreate
Universal
to Final
Control.
Cut.
Yeah.
Universal Control. That's cool, but that's not what I need to
me, that was evidence that they're not planning on bringing macOS to the iPad, because I was like, this exact use case is bragging about why you need it both. Yeah. Apple is still in that camp of you need an iPad and a Mac.
It can't
they won't
survive
go into
on its own. It's not self-sufficient on its own.
Right.
You're right. That when I saw that, I'm like, that's really cool. But it requires two different operating systems to make this magic happen. And now I understand we're not merging anything. There's no Apple OS that's coming. There's none of that. It is what it is, and I accept it now.
Do you guys still think iPads are going to kill off MacBooks eventually? We used to have a show. We had a show about that, but has your minds changed?
With today's announcements, yes. I think if there was any point where they would make this transition and allow the iPad to kind of be unleashed, it was this year. I think I'm a little confused though, because like they gave the iPad an M1 branded chip. They could have easily called it an A14X chip because it's literally the same architecture. They could have done that. But when they didn't, that was when I was like, oh my goodness, they're going to do it. They're going to make the iPad on the par with the Mac, the same chip branded wise. I realized that it doesn't have some of the x86, acceleration stuff that the Macs have, but pretty much the same chip. going into the iPad as it is in the Mac. I was like, this is the year. And they didn't do it, which shows me that it's not just something branding-wise, it's not just something hardware limitation-wise. It is a fundamental like trajectory and roadmap issue where they're not even planning on doing this in 5 years. So I'd say give it a few years, we can reevaluate the situation. But today, when the biggest news on the $2,800 iPad that you can fully spec out is that you can now have a little slide over note thing. Like that's just like kind of a
movable
middle finger
widgets
to those who did that. Or you can move the
you
widgets.
can put widgets in different parts now.
It's like
and have even bigger
$2,500.
sizes now to watch Apple TV that you still have to open the app because you can't just do it from right there.
yeah.
The widgets are still not interactive.
I know. That bugs me. I don't know what their long-term thinking is there. Like, did they think it's always going to be like that, or?
I hope it becomes interactive. I genuinely hope that this is some weird coding thing that we're just too dumb to understand, and that eventually
it's totally possible.
We can
It's
go
totally
slide over.
I'm honestly surprised. One of my friends, a big computer software guy, he's been working on getting Linux to boot on a Chromebook. And so it's just kind of a side project that he's been working on. But like, there's like BIOS and stuff, and like he's pretty much hacked this little Chromebook thing to be able to run like a full version of Linux. And I am shocked that people haven't done this to the iPad yet, jailbroken it and like gotten down into BIOS and had it boot into macOS, because I feel like pretty much the hardware's there. Now you'll need to customize the BIOS quite a bit to have it boot correctly, but I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a good number of really smart people working on that right now, just in the community, because I feel like there's really no reason why it can't do it at this point, except for that fundamental vision that Apple has. And today just proved like they took a step in the opposite direction. So it's not going to be a thing for many years now.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I sold my
in
4th gen iPad, and I'm going to stick with this 3rd gen iPad for years to come now.
Me too. I am returning my iPad Pro.
Okay.
It's for sure now. And I'm heartbroken. I'm sad. It's like the iPad Pro is in this like abusive relationship, and iPadOS is just like, you're going to stay down. You can't do anything. And I'm like, oh, but they're so beautiful. Why can't they do more?
Just
all
walk
I'm asking
away.
for is an option. I just wanted a tier. I didn't care how much it costed. I just wanted it to be possible for you to have the
That's it.
great iPad hardware.
I just wanted to believe again.
But now I need to let it go. I need to give up.
Yep.
I need to be like, okay, it's not going to happen.
And it breaks my heart saying that. Like, I really wish that we didn't have to have this conversation right now. I feel genuinely bad for all those people who spent $2,800 expecting this to happen. And this just proves never ever buy an Apple device based on rumors of software support.
I almost feel almost as bad as
Marquez
the people who sold their MacBooks because they were promised a MacBook today.
Yeah.
There were tons of people when I pre-ordered the iPad Pro that were like, I'm making sure I get the 16 gigs of RAM, so I'm opting for 1 terabyte.
Oh.
How I would feel being that guy now after this event is like,
And it's past the return window. It's just it's
what do you guys
literally
think
bait
the
and
RAM
switch.
is for? Why did they do that? I'm so confused.
So they don't relaunch themselves when
That is such a dumb reason, because the apps are still limited to 5 gigs each. Like it's
I don't know. Honestly, if I'm trying to be objective and not in my feels about it, maybe there is something that we don't understand about the design as it is today. Maybe it's an underhood thing where they have to reprogram the whole infrastructure of iPadOS, which is just a spin-off of iOS. Maybe they have to do something with the OS at its root level to make this thing kick off. That might.
Well, that's what I was hoping today was going to be.
Right.
That's kind of what
maybe
Big Sur felt like.
Maybe they're not ready. Maybe they're not ready.
Wait, hold the show. Back this time last year, we had an M1, an A12Z Mac Mini developer Mac Mini that was literally using an iPad chip to run macOS.
It's
There's
possible.
And the
no
A12Z
reason why it's
is barely different from the 2018
A12X, which is like half the speed of the M1 chip, and it had half the RAM. So it's like, hello, if there was any time for them to make the iPad into a true Mac competitor, it was this event today. And it didn't happen, so I'm now full in on the Mac camp. It's unfortunate because for years I've loved the iPad. It was my little love child. I worked on this iPad exclusively for years, like like a year. The whole show, this entire show, for like a solid year, was edited, uploaded, recorded, done. My entire workflow was on an iPad. And I love that. And unfortunately, I've gotten addicted to Final Cut, and it's not something...
It's a good addiction.
It's good. It is a good addiction. It's a step up in many ways. But just knowing that I'm not going to be able to go back to that form factor, because I love that form factor of just having an iPad. I didn't have to make a decision. Do I need to take my Mac? Do I need to take my iPad? Do I need to take a keyboard case? Like, it was just the iPad with an Apple Pencil and a keyboard case. It always had LTE. It was so nice. But unfortunately, Apple has not decided to pursue that direction. So that means that I'm no longer going to be heavily upgrading my iPads every year until this is more featureful. Like, what I use an iPad for right now is pretty much just a teleprompter at this point. Like, I really rarely use this iPad. I'll watch movies on it and, like, do teleprompter stuff with it. Like, I literally almost never use the iPad. And it's sad.
The only way now, going forward, that would be 100% in the Mac side of the garden here is if Mac came with LTE. Then I would go as far as to actually
it's just one example of all the many things Mac is still lacking over the iPad hardware.
How can you have these perfectly missing pieces that fit together with an iPad and a Mac OS, or a MacBook with an iPad style with like it's not. That's the part that if Nick could put an M1 chip in an old Cube, people could put an LTE in a MacBook, or
tell me about it.
Or people could
There's no reason at this
hot
point.
Glue gun could do this. Come on, Apple.
Can you guys believe like iPads have had cellular options for 11 years now?
Yeah, literally since the beginning. The very first iPad had 3G.
The first generation, they had cellular before they had a camera. And MacBooks in 2021 still don't have an LTE option.
And they chose to just not give you a phone number for it, so that way it's still iPad and iPhone. That's the only reason. Yeah, the iPad is more than capable of killing off an iPhone, with the exception of maybe portability of a camera or what have you. But it is possible. I'm confident they have played with it, and for whatever reason, maybe all the criticisms, people are right that maybe there's a level of cannibalism they're not willing to let go because of the type of R&D they've put into these departments. Maybe it is more of a threat for one another to be that close than we give credit for, because it doesn't make sense otherwise. Because
you were the one who told me, Randy, that Apple's comfortable cannibalizing their best-selling stuff. Like, they're fine with that.
I'm questioning everything after today, because now I don't believe that. I don't believe the iPad is.
Do you think that's the main reason? It's Mac cannibalization?
On surface level, that's what I think it is. I feel like there's something we as a public, we don't know, that unless we're part of the software design team or what have you. There has to be some there. Maybe it's more simple than that. Maybe there's a bigger struggle happening within Apple about people competing for their ideas, and they're doing gladiator style in front of Tim Cook, and here's why this is better. Here's why this is better. And they got their prospective VPs in their corner helping them, lead this campaign about making their argument. And maybe people are fighting really hard to make this happen. And they're like, well, it's not hurting sales, and for whatever reason, the side that we want lost. Maybe it's that simple, that maybe people are fighting for it, because
I bet there are. If there's people outside thinking like this, there's got to be people inside thinking way more.
If you would want to make the change, you would want to go to the core and change from within. We can't be the only ones passionate about that stuff. There are people who stay up all night and slave over this type of thing, and they work for Apple doing that. There's no way that people aren't making their case. It's just a matter of getting their day in court, or their day in front of Tim Cook, or maybe it's Craig, or whoever has final say on that. At whatever level it's there, maybe they just haven't had their day yet. And That's me being optimistic. So I don't really think it's cannibalization. I just feel like surface level that's what it is, but I want to believe there are people within Apple that are still pushing this prototype that they've been tinkering with, like we can make this happen, and they're just like, yeah, it looks good, but right now we really want to focus on health.
Yeah. Nope.
Siri just picked up all that. Thanks, Siri.
Yeah. It's a bummer day for me, I guess.
Really? I'm pumped. Like, I'm sorry. I was
the two biggest things.
So happy. I was right about Macs. I was not really expecting iPads
I'm happy
to
you
have
were
too
right.
much. So I am over the moon. I have a 100% Apple Track score. Sam, start my Apple Tracker thing because I'm on the moon.
Nick loves that Apple didn't move Apple Silicon forward today, and
How does that make you feel, Drew?
I was looking forward to spending thousands of dollars on Apple products this week, but because of you, Tim, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And now I'm just going to sit around and complain about the iPad some more. That's my new schedule. I could have been wiring you thousands of...
All of a sudden, Drew doesn't care about the white bezels on the iMac anymore. His new focus is on the iPad.
I still care. I just noticed that they only showed the silver iMac today.
It was a very good looking. That was a very good look.
It was,
good looking.
it was clean. All of those shots were clean. I was like, good job. And I was like,
last year was a big deal.
Go ahead.
They announced the Apple Silicon transition, and it was the first virtual event. Even though there wasn't really any hardware, it still felt like a big packed event. And WWDC before that, we got Pro Display and Mac Pro. And before that, I don't think there was any hardware in 2018. 17, we got iMac Pro. That's still probably my favorite WWDC so far.
Do you feel something's going to happen between now and September?
Event-wise?
I don't know if they'll go as far as make an event, but whether it's headphones, redesign, maybe those Beats earbud things.
Oh yeah, those didn't
do you
come
think
out,
we're going to get something worthwhile between now and then? I think Drew started linking.
I can see you both.
Yeah, I can see
hi,
you both.
welcome back. Oh,
Hi.
okay.
Oh, okay. I see you both.
We need new FaceTime updates.
There might be some... They said the HomePod Mini would support lossless playback. Not the AirPods. I'm on the moon. It feels great. Is this how it feels, Nick?
Yes, that's exactly what it feels like. Confirmed.
Yeah. I hate being right.
Do you like this formula? I guess my real question. No, it wasn't my real question. It's a spin-off question. But do you like this formula of more events in short spurts, or do you want longer events like today's WWDC?
I'm all for less events throughout the year, but the events are more packed over. Like, I think I probably would have been more happy if we got all of today's software, cut down on the fluff, kind of cut out some of the cringe, don't dwell so much on.
They had no intention of mentioning
iCloud
tvOS, and we still
they didn't say tvOS at all. If they would have just cut down on the software, but instead not had an April event.
Okay.
And stuffed this event full of hardware and been like, so iPadOS does all these great new things. Also,
that
here's
would
the
have been
new
amazing.
iPad. Here's tvOS gets all these new things, and also here's the new Siri remote. macOS gets all these things. Here's the new iMac. I think that would have been more eventful. But I guess as a content creator, I get to hype up more when there's more events. That's kind of how Sam responded. He was like, as a fan, I want bigger events, but as an influencer, I directly benefit from there being more events. Yeah. So I'm like, I agree with that. Like, it helps me.
Apple strategically places themselves to have something happening in between each earning quarter. So for them to not do anything in April might not look good overall about that quarter's earnings. when they sit down and do their whole thing. Except, hey, we've done well on ourselves with these numbers, and then there's that. But it doesn't have that flair, that sex appeal, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they strategically always do a spring and then this one going into summer because it fits within that schedule of now we can talk about something worth talking about during the earnings call and stuff like that. So I think business wise, that's why they do it. And I agree. I understand what Sam is saying, and to a very significant level, I do agree with that. But I would rather have the hybrid of the two, of cut down on the fluff, and give me, like, most of the people watching aren't developers, so you could have done without the whole API part and save that for something else and use that and
for
drop
all the other
some
classes and sessions going on this week.
You could have done
That's
that,
all
and
happening.
we could have been like, we got new iMacs, and that you could have brought that over from April, and that would have been cool. I don't know.
I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of happy that we're keeping the events on the smaller side. I mean, I think for me personally, all the stuff announced today, impressive. You know, a little sad about the iPad's direction overall, but like other than that, very good event.
Very excited about Mac.
Yeah, me too. I love this Mac. It's like a whole new computer now. Keeping the events kind of on that smaller scale, we experimented with that in the fall, having the 3 separate events: iPads, watches, iPhones, and then Macs. I feel like that allows each of the products to kind of have its room to breathe. For example, last fall with the Series 6 Apple Watch, normally when we do a normal Apple Watch update, you know, it's kind of overshadowed by the iPhone, right? But since they broke that up last year, the Apple Watch had its time to breathe. And I get it, it's not as big of a product and people aren't quite as thrilled about it. And us Apple sheep who were really excited about new iPhones in September were a little disappointed. But being able to give each of the products their respected room to breathe feels right. You know, the iMac here is a great design, beautiful, all that fun stuff, except for the pink chin. But it had its room to breathe, right? If this was announced today at DubDub, along with everything else, you know, people would be mentioning, oh, there's this new iMac, but they'd also be talking about everything else. Whereas since we had the event in April, and it was just the iPad and the Macs, and they got their separate room to breathe. So I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm happy with today's event because of the position I put myself in with the products that I have. I think what's bothering me is we just went through a hardware redesign last, and a part of me always hopes with the hardware redesign we get some element of software redesign, not by UI, but maybe something like what I was hoping with the iPad. Maybe something that would give this new squared off design with iMac, iPad, iPhone. Those things would have its moment to, like, hey, with these new visual elements, here's something that worked, and it just there was something I wanted this I don't even know what the word is, but it's not symmetry, but I just wanted this cross collaboration, for lack of a better word, of hardware and software designing themselves together in a way that feels like it's intentional. And we got the hardware that looks very, it's very, there's a lot of continuity with that, and I trust MacBooks redesigns will give something very much similar to that too, where it's more squared off and boxy. And maybe I was hoping we had something with iPad specifically, and I would have been okay with iOS as well, but the iPad to do something as daring enough like what happened with Big Sur. And we didn't get that, and I think that's where it's like, all right. I wasn't expecting another iOS 7 by any means, but I was just like, it would have been cool to have something that goes with this new form factor, hardware redesign. Instead, my favorite design thing taken away today was every time they use that demo of HomeKit, and you get to see that home. That's my favorite design of everything. You just look at it like, that's a nice house. I want to live there.
They're really milking that house. Yeah,
it's a nice looking house. That's my favorite design, and that's sad. But
yeah. Siri on third-party hardware. I wasn't expecting that either.
I was.
Yeah, it was like Apple. So you're okay with Siri on third-party hardware, but first-party software on your own hardware,
that's where we draw the line.
We don't go there. That's too crazy. No way. But yeah, we could put FaceTime on Android. Sure.
Sure. Oh, we
Or
can put Siri.
FaceTime on Windows.
Yeah, sure.
That's fine. I will not understand the logic.
We're not going to dilute the brand at all. Let's do this. Steve Jobs is rolling in something right now.
He's rolling in his headphone jack.
Well, he's a lying son of a... Anyway, so...
Do we have closing thoughts on today's keynote?
Overall, keynote score, 6.5 out of 10.
Ooh. Yeah, score it. Let's score it.
That was surprisingly low, considering how happy Nick was.
I don't know. 6.5,
I thought he was going to go higher.
Around there. I don't know.
I was going to agree with 6.5, yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say...
D.
Ooh. No, I give it a strong C. 7.
Oh, if we're doing letter grades, if we're doing letter grades, I'd probably say a B+. But I don't know. I feel like when you're on that 10 scale, the 0 is an F, and the 10 is, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, okay. On a scale then, I would give it a strong...
I look at it as 5 out of 10 is a failing grade. 0 out of 10 is I was personally offended. I was like, that was religiously insulting to me.
Where's my MacBook?
Yeah. 0 out of 10 is I'm angry now after the event. I went in with excitement and I left with frustration. 5 is nah.
I feel like rioting. I feel like protesting. I feel like something.
We should go in the streets.
We can pick it outside of an Apple store.
We should go to Apple Park and just
macOS for iPad. macOS for iPad.
That's it.
We should do it.
We'll have giant Pro displays on stands.
There you go. It'll be so bright in the middle of the night with all of the extra XDRs. Everyone will have to see it.
I'll agree with 6.5 out of 10 /D.
Okay. Okay, well, if we're sticking with that grade, then I need to bump it up and adjust it because I was thinking 50% was a 5 out of 10 was better than you. But yeah, so I don't know. B plus is where I put that.
I hope they don't do the Memoji crowd thing again. I thought that was a little cringy.
Then you're not going to like what the intro was for this video, Drew.
I know what the intro emojis within a black void is fine, but when it's Tim who's human walking on a stage with memojis in the audience, that was weird. I was like,
that did feel a little weird.
Good
Roger
morning.
Rabbit, a little bit.
If it gets them to say good morning, give me all the memojis. I don't care.
My hope is they hear that and go, okay, let's not do that for the iPhone. I'm fine with just a big empty Steve Jobs theater. That looks cooler.
It feels grander, to tell you the truth. There's something.
The Memoji thing felt like a emoji movie.
It felt like the
It was like, hey, we're animated, yay!
No,
AirPods.
having Tim Cook stand at an empty Steve Jobs theater with a backlight that almost gave him a silhouette effect.
Yes,
it has this cathedral vibe to it that just feels
was epic. Yeah.
We are Apple, and this is iPhone. And then it does this thing. Yeah.
Agreed. Well, thanks, everyone. Hope you have an excellent evening. Let us know. Well, I don't care. Bye. Have a great
Bye.